first I need your name, your age, and what you do.
Do all these things have to be factual?
Yeah.
Okay. My name is Sebastian Stone in my head, but it's Williams on paper, and it's Barnum in truth. I play the shit out of a guitar and try my hardest to sing. I'm from Portland, Oregon, and I love Nashville more than any city that I've ever lived in, including but not limited to New York, LA, Seattle, everywhere.
Alright, so, you said you're from Portland. Why did you choose Nashville of all places?
The North has no idea what the hell is going on with the blues, and that's probably my favorite genre, which is what caused me to have to go south. And Memphis sucks. I've been there 3 times. I've almost been robbed twice. The ratio's just not good. Not about that.
So, what are some of the positives of Nashville?
We're gonna pause, relatively pause for some food. Now, in Nashville, you can meet anybody you want to meet and play any show you want to play if you put enough foot to ass. But there's 81 people that move here each week, so the competition is fierce, dude. Now, what's cool is there's like a 3% unemployment rate, which means if you want a job, you can get one. And there's new venues popping up in town literally every week. I don't know, man. Like, for me, it's gotta be the networking capital of the music world. You know, there's more bands per capita in this city than there are anywhere else on the globe.
So, what would you say are some of the downsides of Nashville?
Man, you can't throw a rock in this city without hitting a guitar player. And as a guitar player, that kind of sucks ass. You know? You think you're good when you move here. Everybody thinks they're good when they move here, which is funny. And you see people get chewed up and spit out in a series of months. It happens in about 6 months. I've had some really cool friends here make it years, but then they give up. And they're like, man, I'm not going to make it, so I'm out. I'm just going to go back to Idaho or Ohio or, you know, Canada or wherever the fuck they came from at the time. And they're going to try and make it as a bottle cap company manager or some shit. And they're going to do the normal thing, but Nashville's not normal. Now, it's kind of cool, but it's also a great weakness because everybody's talented that's here for longer than a year. Everybody's good. It doesn't matter if they're playing on Broadway for change, or if they're opening an open mic, or if they're headlining the Bridgestone. Chances are they're great songwriters, and they've been playing for at least 5 to 10 years. And you have to be ready to compete with that. You have to practice your scales every day. You have to fight for it, because if you don't, somebody else down the street is going to. It's kind of like anarchy, but it's so peaceful because everybody supports local and live music, and you won't get that anywhere else. So that's the burden, curse, and blessing that is Nashville, Tennessee in a nutshell. It's like everybody's good. So even if you're pretty good for your hometown, you're gonna come here and you're either gonna make it or you're gonna break and just run back to whatever hometown you came from. It's kind of sad, really. I've seen it happen to a lot of people.
You play guitar and sing in Safe Secrets. Why don't you tell us about what's been going on with Safe Secrets?
What's been going on this month, or last year, or I mean, we can do it all. Let's start with what Safe Secrets is. We are a band that takes anonymously submitted stories from our fans via our website. They get sent directly to our email, and we never know who they're coming from. To this day, I don't know where 95% of these secrets come from. Some of them I figure out like a puzzle. But after I hear these stories, we interpret them and apply them to various musical parts that we have created, and we turn these people's stories into songs, and we give a voice to the voiceless. And a lot of people have hit us up and been like, that really helped me. I was in a tough spot that I couldn't get out of, and seeing you guys play live made my whole life better. And when we get those emails, it blows my mind. So that's really cool. We've been in Nashville for 2 or 3 years, and We've been lucky enough to be voted the best alternative rock band in the city this year, 2016. And we're up for another award, which is Best Rock Album. That's Dead Days. I'm really, really lucky and blessed to play with the musicians that I do. Joaquin Rosales and Chaz McKinney, or Spaz Cardigan, depending on what day of the week you catch them. You know, they make me want to be better every day. And so do the fans, because we can't disappoint them. And that's what Safe Secrets is about, playing as good as you can and associating with the fans as much as you can. Because there's nothing like it.
Since moving to Nashville, you guys have had quite the struggle. What do you think was the biggest struggle that you have had since moving to Nashville?
Well, it's a two-part answer. There's one struggle that keeps Joaquin and I together, that we have in common. And then there's another struggle that keeps all of us as a family together and certain of what we're going through. Now, the hardest thing that Joaquin and I ever went through was probably moving here and having nothing and living with nothing. I remember sleeping in my first car, which happened to be a motorhome that I bought specifically to move here, and the side window was busted out, but I still slept under a blanket next to it every night. And I remember waking up at 2 a.m. in, the desert in California and shivering and eating a can of tuna for lunch because we had no way to heat food, and that's just how we made our way here. And there's nothing like having nothing to make you appreciate what you're doing and why you're doing it. And Joaquin and I have both gone through that in our separate trips to get here. So I'd say that's one struggle.
And that's the pizza guy.
Yeah, I'd say through the thick and thin, the hardest thing you can go through as a musician is having nothing but your music. And people like Bob Dylan have gone through it, and I'm really lucky that Joaquin and I can share that. But the second biggest struggle was when we lost our first bass player. And it wasn't just tough for the band, it was tough for everybody that lived in the household, because I always think the best way for a band to stay functional, be able to practice as much as possible, and always be working is to live together. Band house, it's just the way to do it. And when we lost our first bass player, he took his bass and his bass amp, and that hurt us. He was my oldest friend in Nashville, and that hurt me. And we had a gig 2 days later, man. So the first day we tried to practice, we couldn't do it. We were so angry that we put fists through walls, man. And we never said a word to each other about it. We were never mad at each other, we were just mad. And then the next day, we just took a new approach and white stripes it for a day, said, fuck it, we're gonna go for it. And we had a great show, and we got through it. But luckily, our roommate, Chaz, at the time, who's now our bass player / roommate, Chaz, was there, and we had a recording session like 3 days later, and Homeboy came in and filled in a killer bass part. And as soon as I was done, I'm like, I always say live with your band anyway, and you're already here, but because of that situation, Chaz lost a friend at the same time we lost a friend, and it gave us a lot of ammunition to put in the holsters of our guns while we were, trying to write this record and go through moving into a new house that we could actually use to be productive rather than destructive, which is another great flaw that Nashville has. Everybody wants to party like a rock star, and nobody wants to do the footwork. And you see that all over town with people that are really good, they just don't do shit. And getting through that got us to this. And because we all lost something at the same time, we were all able to grow from it, and so did the music. And now we're here, and we're unstoppable. In my mind, anyway. I've yet to be proven wrong, but who knows?
So what would you say has been your biggest break since moving to Nashville?
There's nothing like hearing your song on the radio for the first time. And I notoriously missed it the first 5 or 6 times that they played Safe Secrets on the radio in Nashville, on a real radio station, not just like internet radio or something like that, because we do that stuff. And that's cool, but it's a different element. It's one thing to be played on the rock station of Nashville, Tennessee, when you're in a rock band, right? So I missed it all these, 5 weeks in a row that they played us on the local night. And I was really bummed. I was coming home, working open to close on Sunday, like I did tonight. And, that's kind of part of the footwork. Again, you gotta be able to pay those bills so that you can keep the power on, so you can keep the amps on. But I was just so beat down and exhausted, and I'm driving home, and I should not have been driving home at 9 o'clock at night, and I happened to catch this guy announce that we were the local band of the week and just blow us up like crazy. And that moment I got so excited that I pulled into the nearest gas station and called my dad and talked to him for like 20 minutes because I was so pumped I didn't know what else to do. You know, I was screaming in the car and fist pumping, and like I had to share it with somebody. But to be announced in Music City, you know, USA, which is also the music capital of the world, as the local rock band of the week, it's like, holy shit, we're getting somewhere. You know, I'll never forget that. That was the biggest thing. I'd been waiting for that my whole life, and it finally happened. That was really cool.
If you had a magic wand and you could change one thing about Nashville to make the city a better place, what would you do?
Oh man, I'm glad you asked that question, Tyler. I really am. You know what the one problem with Nashville is, more than anything else, besides the fact that we have the shittiest traffic ever, which is not related to the music industry, so I'll let it go. But you go to these shows. We paid like close to $500 to see Tool at the Bridgestone in this last year. Incredible concert. So glad we went. Some of the most amazing things I've ever seen done on a stage, right? Primus opened. You can't beat that. That's a once-in-a-lifetime show. You gotta go. But from where we were, in the second level, you could see everybody that had their phones out and was texting in the middle of it. And then you go and see bands like Manchester Orchestra, all the way to when you come to a show like for us playing in Safe Secrets, I can see the people with their phones out. And it's a two-part problem. One, people are more interested in talking about the music industry than actually caring about it, which really sucks for the people that are pouring their souls and hearts into it. Because you go and play these shows and you're almost, you know, in tears by the end of that song that you wrote and you're really feeling it that night. You look out and you see 3 to 5 people with screens lighting up their face. And sometimes you get lucky and they're talking about you. But most of the time they're texting their friends to see what's going on with their friends. And that sucks. And the reason that it happens more in Nashville than anywhere else, because I've seen shows all over this country, it seems to me that, and I do it too, I'm guilty of it too, when you're in this industry and you're in this city, you go out to a show, and one of the first things you think when you see a band, doesn't matter how good they are, like, as a guitar player, I watch the other guitar players and I go, man, I would do that differently. Or, man, I would use a different pedal. Or, man, that's too clean of a tone. I would dirty it up a bit. And you don't mean to do it, but subconsciously you're critiquing instead of watching and feeling. You know, in Portland, Oregon, when I would see a show, nobody cared what anybody was playing. As long as the crowd was moving, the band was feeling it. And the same in Seattle. Not as much in New York. I feel like the further you go east, the less soul you have. And that's just my opinion. I'm probably going to get bastardized for it in the comments. That's all right. Love you guys. But that said, people in Nashville are more interested in judging what you're doing than liking what you're doing. And because there's that prejudice that's in there, they're literally prejudging you before they even hear the notes or the words coming out of your mouth. Because of that, you're held back a lot, you know? Even myself, I do it too. When I'm at a show and we've already played and the next band is on, you know, I'll sit there and I'll be like, they're good. I kind of wish they would do this differently, or, oh, that lyric could have been better. And I hate myself for it, but you can't help but do it because the scene is so competitive. It never stops. Never stops. You can't throw a rock without hitting a guitar player in this town, especially vocalists too. Everybody wants to sing karaoke. Nobody wants to put in the footwork. Even me. I wish I could just sing. I gotta play guitar because that's the only thing I'm good at.
All right, so what is your favorite place in town?
For sushi?
Sure, go sushi, go venue, do whatever you want.
Okay. Favorite place in town for sushi? Again, 2-part answer. First, Sushi Hana's the best, comes around on a train. It's the only place I found in town that does that. They have that all over the West Coast. I love that shit. Secondly, the place at the top of Acme Feed and Seed on Broadway has literally the best sushi that I've had in Nashville, and that's saying something because I sush every Sunday. So that's that. As far as your real question goes, best venue in town, audio-wise, I'm gonna have to say the War Memorial. Ticket prices aren't bad. They're like $30 to $40. You can hear every note that every act is playing. Marathon's really good too, but it really depends on the crowd you get. And then I would put probably the Cannery Ballroom third. Favorite places to play. Anywhere with a drum riser, honestly. The make or break thing for me with a venue, if I can't jump off of things or stand on top of tall monitors, then it cheapens it for me. You know, I gotta do more windmills and Angus Young duck walks and all that good shit. If I have a good jump off of a drum riser and maybe get like a 360 in there or something with a guitar in the middle of like a drop point where we're all making like feedback in one beat and then we go back into it, like there's nothing better than that moment. I love jumping up and down on stage. So I'm gonna say best place I've played, the High Watt's really cool. I'm dying to play the Exit In. Honestly, the cool spots are probably in Murfreesboro. There's like 3 stages in Murfreesboro that I can jump to town on, and that's really cool. Everybody here is like stage level, and the drum sets only have 1 tom. Like if you go on Broadway, dude, there's no such thing as a drum riser. Everybody's on the same flat field. I wish there was more of them. That's all I really want.
If you were gonna have someone come in for just like the weekend, and you wanted to show them what Nashville was really like, what would you have them do, or places to go, things like that?
I'm glad you asked that as well, because I've had both my father and my grandmother visit, and I feel like I've done this pretty successfully. Say we got a 3-night stay. One night you gotta hang out with us at the house, have some shots of whiskey, do the damn thing, turn on some vinyl records, show our record collection.
We'll get some B-roll.
B-roll?
B-roll.
Alright, that's for B-roll. But, you know, you can't fake it with a record. You gotta listen to the whole damn thing. I love that. When my grandma came over here, we played Jenga, other board games, had a good drink, records. Day 2, you get some bomb-ass food, gotta get some really good locally made coffee. Have to see Broadway. It's annoying as shit. I hate driving on it, but you gotta see it. It's Vegas in Nashville. It's literally one like 10-block area of the street, but it's just like a bunch of white trash country just all over the place. Like, I played one of the venues and like we played nothing but blues songs and they still hated us because we weren't country enough. It breaks your heart, man. You don't see nothing but flip-flops and cowboy boots, but you gotta see it. The architecture around here is actually really, really cool. Day 3, you gotta go to a show. There's a million local shows happening every single day, and chances are that all the artists that you're going to see are better than anybody in your local town. So again, sushi, Acme Feed and Seed, did it with Grandma, it was a great time. And then Daisy Dukes is a really good spot. They're good about being cheap, they've got a good selection, they make you feel like you're at home. Fat Bites has a really cool stage and really, really, really great food. Consistently as a band, and maybe it's because we play like over 100 shows a year, but you want to play a place that A, gives you free beer, and B, gives you really, really bomb, hopefully organic food. Because there's so many mom and pop kitchens in this town that serve such better food than fast food bullshit. Like, the cooking here is amazing. You gotta go food the whole time, and board games, and whiskey, and rock and roll. That's it. That's Nashville. That's what you do.
You have an interesting story about how you came to Nashville. Do you want to tell that story?
I'm down. That's always fun. Do you want me to get into the part about the craziness?
All of it.
I'll go deep, man.
Go balls deep.
Let's start with the realness. I got a phone call one day after work. Dude says, "Hey, we have a record deal lined up in Nashville, Tennessee with Third Man Records." I say, "That's fucking sweet." This dude I used to hang out with, go to shows every now and then in Portland. I saw him maybe once a year. That was it, tops. Lived 4 hours away from where I did in Portland. Not a 3 hours. Not a dude you see every day. So I took him at his word because he was a fairly good musician. He recorded his first EP at the same studio that Nirvana recorded Incesticide. So I took him for credibility. I had to buy the vehicle that we went out with. I should have seen that as a sign. But I spent all summer in the desert of Oregon. Yes, that's a thing. Look it up. It's 90% desert. 60% desert. I suck at numbers. That's why I play guitar. You don't have to keep rhythm as much. And, we go out, we practice, we record an album, we do that whole thing. We start going south, record another album in Sacramento. That was cool. That's still a good album. There's a couple tracks from that album that I wrote that we still play once in a blue moon. So, dig that. We get all the way to Arizona before... I had dualies on the back. One wheel on the driver's side went forward, and the other one went backwards at about 80 miles an hour. The people that found the wreckage of the vehicle, because somehow all the musical gear was fine, and so were all of we, but it looked like somebody had laser cut the wheel off, right? So that was creepy. Raise enough money through like a Kickstarter campaign and album sales, and parents being parents, to get this other van that was way better than my first car, which was a boat motor inside a motorhome. And we make it all the way. Halloween was actually the day before I got to Nashville. We bought a shit ton of fireworks in New Mexico, blew them all up at a truck stop to wake everybody up, and then got the fuck up out of there before the speedheads got mad at us. Because that's just what you do in New Mexico, I suppose. Anyway, we get here. Things are great. We played a show at the End. It's a great venue in Nashville. Played there over 100 times. And all was groovy. Then these hippies moved in with us because they were a mutual friend of a mutual friend, which was a bad sign as well. Similar to the whole me buying the vehicle thing. And these hippies sold us... Fuck it, let's be real. They sold us LSD for 50 cents a hit, which was, and is still, the best deal anybody's ever gotten on acid. And it's because they were living with us for free. And as a result, I took like 3 one night with one other person. They took about 12 hits a day for about 4 days. Then they went to church. I did not have a problem with this, but then they decided to come home and tell me that I was possessed by the devil whilst I was taking those 3 hits. So whilst I was tripping balls, young, old, stupid Sebastian at 19, they busted into my room, told me that they were leaving and had already packed all the shit, and that they were gone. And they also said, yeah, sorry, Jack White never got back to us. We don't really have the record deal. And then they just kind of dipped. And I had a house payment, and I had no job, and I had a drum set that they had taken a couple drums out of, so I had about 3 pieces. I had a 3-piece drum set left. I'm a guitar player, and that's what I had. And now my song's on the radio, so they can kiss my ass. Because we made it. And looking back at it, man, if it takes a bunch of twacked out, immature children that don't appreciate your talent to get you in the place you were always meant to be, with the people you were always meant to see, fuck it, life happens. And that's how I got to Nashville story. With a fake record deal, an empty promise, and a lot of bullshit. But I'm still sitting here with a smile on my face. I'm still making music, so it was definitely worth it, even if it sucks. Sometimes I'm gonna think too much, but that's life. I'll just put it in the next record anyway.